In this video, you will learn what each Google Search Console indexing error means and some tips on how to fix them. Let's go. If Google presents you with a server error, it means something is stopping their crawler from accessing the page to crawl and rank it. And there are generally three different types of server errors. 500 error. This is an internal server error, which means that technical issues are causing the server to delay processing the request. There could be a coding issue within your CMS, improper PHP code, or another entirely different reason. 502 error. This is a bad gateway error, meaning your request has been delayed due to an upstream service not responding. Generally, if you are presented with a 502 error, it is an error with your CMS like WordPress. 503 error. 503 errors are service unavailable errors. This means that a server is too busy, down for maintenance, or down entirely, and it is taking too long for Googlebot to access the site. Googlebot only waits a certain amount of time before it gives up and presents a 5xx error. Occasionally, Google will run into redirect errors on your website. This is one of the most common errors presented by Google Search Console, and they usually are caused by the following. Redirect loops. A redirect loop is a redirect chain that ends in the original URL that you wish to redirect, starting the chain again. Redirect chains. If a redirect chain is too long and it takes Googlebot too long to reach the final URL, it will give up and throw an error. Problems in a redirect chain. If there is a URL that does not work in a redirect chain, Googlebot will throw an error. This could be caused by a 404 or an empty URL in the chain. Maximum character length exceeded. If URLs are too long, Googlebot will not crawl them and you will see an error show up in Google Search Console. URL blocked by robots.txt error means Googlebot is being stopped from accessing a certain page or pages by your website's robots.txt file. There are two common reasons for this happening. First, you may have incorrectly configured your robots.txt file and may have accidentally blocked Googlebot from accessing pages. This can happen a lot in WordPress if you have SEO plugins. It also may be that you have included a disallowed directive in your robots.txt, which is stopping Googlebot from crawling pages. To fix this, download a copy of your robots.txt and search for the URL or the directives that might be affecting the blocked URL. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, please consider subscribing. Our goal at SEO Testing is to save you time so you spend less time pulling data into Excel and more time thinking about how to get more traffic from Google. Also, if you enjoy this content and want to see more like it, please leave a comment. Now, back to the video. URL marked as noindex error means that Google has identified a page you'd like to be indexed, most likely because it is featured in your website sitemap or has internal links on your website, but something is stopping Google from indexing the page. There are two likely reasons for this happening. Either a noindex meta tag in the page HTML or an X robots tag in the HTTP header. Googlebot will see these tags and not be able to index your page. If you come across this error, take a look at your page's source code and see if you can spot either the noindex meta tag or the robots tag showing the noindex and remove it. A soft 404 is when a page displays a message saying the content you are looking for is not available, but the server still sends a 200 status code indicating the page is okay. This confuses search engines because they think the page exists when it really doesn't. Google sees this 200 code, but also sees what is being shown to users and that it cannot possibly offer any value. Because of this, it does not index the page and you are given an error. The blocked due to unauthorized request error happens when Googlebot is blocked from accessing a page to crawl, index, and rank it. This can happen whether users can access the page without issue or not. The most likely cause of this error is that your website is blocking Googlebot with a firewall or internal systems preventing Google from accessing the page. To fix this issue, you need to find out why Googlebot is being blocked and remove the rules blocking it. Blocked due to access forbidden means Googlebot is blocked from crawling a page, but Google doesn't know the exact reasons why. Usually there are three common reasons for this error. First, server restrictions. This is when a server is configured to block certain IP addresses. Second, geographic restrictions. These restrictions may also cause 403s if Google is trying to crawl your site from a region that is currently blocked. Third, authentication. Pages requiring authentication can also be the cause of the 403 errors. Because Googlebot does not have the login credentials, it can't access these URLs. The solution to this error will depend on the cause, and you can check our YouTube channel and blog where we explain the solutions in more detail. The not found error in Google Search Console means Googlebot has tried to crawl a URL that does not exist. In short, this is when the URL has been changed and no redirects have been implemented, or the page was simply deleted. When you see this error, I recommend using a crawling tool to find where on the website you are linking to this non-existent page. Once you found these URLs, you can simply delete them or replace them with the correct URL. Sometimes Googlebot is presented with a 4xx code, but it cannot determine what that code is. In this case, Google Search Console shows you the URL blocked due to another 4xx issue. Here I recommend you visit each URL to find what are the errors appearing, or you can use a crawling tool to make this easier. The most likely errors you will find are the 401 code. This error indicates that authentication is required before accessing the page. 422 code. This code indicates that the server understands the crawler's request but is still unable to process the instructions. Essentially, the server is saying, I understand what you are asking and how you are asking it, but I can't do it. 429 code. This code appears when Googlebot sends too many requests in a given time frame. This is also known as rate limiting. Once you have correctly identified which code is being shown for each URL, you can fix them, which will likely include implementing redirects or removing URLs from your website and sitemap, among other things. Blocked by page removal tool is perhaps one of the easiest problems to solve. This error means the URL has been submitted to the removals tool in Google Search Console for temporary removal. If you find any URLs that do not need to be here, remove them from the page removal tool and resubmit the URL to be crawled by Googlebot. This tool is useful for temporarily removing pages from Google's index. However, you have to manually add the pages to this tool. So if you see the error, it means someone submitted the URL at some point in the past. The crawled currently not indexed error in Google Search Console is incredibly annoying because it means Googlebot has been able to crawl the URL without issue, but decides to not add it to the index. So any URLs given this error code are not showing up in Google's search results pages. In other words, this means the page is not seen as being good enough to appear on Google. I recommend you try adding more internal or external links to the page, adding more content to it, or improving the content to better match the search intent. These things can make Google index the page in the future. This covered currently not indexed error means that Google knows the URL exists but has not crawled or indexed the page yet. This could be down to one of the following reasons: technical issues, lack of crawl budget, the page is excluded by design, poor website structure, or Google is saving resources. Fortunately, you have a few options to try get this page crawled and indexed. First, you can submit the URL to be manually crawled by Google. You should also check your server capacity to see if it can handle the number of times Googlebot is trying to crawl your site. Is the page included in your sitemap? If not, and you want the page to be indexed, then you should add the URL to the sitemap. The alternate page with proper canonical tag means Google has spotted a duplicate of the page, but it is correctly canonicalized. This is not an error if you do not want this page to be indexed. But if you want the page to be indexed, there is some work to do. You first need to remove the canonical tag and recrawl the URL with Google to see if this resolves the issue. Sometimes this will work well, but other times you will be given another error, such as duplicate without user selected canonical. If you find that your URL is not being indexed even after removing the canonical tag, you need to change the page's content so Google no longer sees it as a duplicate. Duplicate without user selected canonical means Google has spotted duplicate pages on your website that don't mention a canonical URL. This can happen a lot on large websites, so it is important to canonicalize all your duplicate pages correctly. First, establish which page you wish to be shown in Google's index and ensure it points to itself with the canonical tag. This is referred to as a self-referencing canonical. Next, you need to find all the duplicate pages and point a canonical tag to the page you want to be indexed. You can identify these URLs in Google Search Console, but also through crawling your site with a tool like Screaming Frog or Sitebulb. Once all the pages have been given the correct canonical tags, ask Google to recrawl the URL. Duplicate Google choose different canonical than user means Google found pages on your website with similar content And instead of using the page you suggested as the main version, aka the canonical, Google picked a different one it thought was more suitable. It's like if you and a friend wore the same outfit to a party, but the host decides to just compliment your friend's outfit instead. If the page being indexed is the correct page, then you don't need to do anything here. However, it is best to add a self-referencing canonical to the page to avoid this error being shown in Google Search Console. But if the wrong page is being indexed, then you need to canonicalize your URLs to avoid this situation. The indexed though blocked by robots.txt error means Google has indexed the page that was blocked by the robots.txt. There are a few different fixes for this, but you must decide whether you want the page to be indexed or not. If you do not want the page to be indexed, you could add a noindex tag to it. But you also need to allow Google to crawl the page so it can see the noindex tag. You could also try removing all internal links to the page or deleting it. If you want the page to be indexed, remove the directive from the robots.txt file that is causing the block and ask Google to recrawl the page. Now you are familiar with the major indexing issues of Google Search Console. And if you want to make the most out of your Google Search Console data, use SEO testing to set up SEO tests and know what changes to your site increase traffic. We have a 14-day free trial for you to test it. Sign up using the link in the description. Thanks for watching.